Your friend encountered them? These tunnel people?
Look back in the early 2000s when I still lived in Brooklyn next to my buddy Timmy, who was always just known as the crazy guy next door. I mean, something was clearly off, but we loved him, right? He would always just spend strange amounts of time in the basement of his building, but we just thought it was part of his antisocial complex, right? And, as the years went on, he started talking about these people that lived in his basement under the ground. And I mean, we would go down to check it out just to see if something was going on, but nobody was ever there. Years go on, he starts spiraling, right? He'd come around asking us for food. He'd go, the tunnel people, they need me to bring them food. And we just thought he was, trying to ask us in his wacky way for something to eat, right? Guy was dirt poor, but got to a point he was stealing groceries out of my house, right? At which point we had to cut him off, and about 3 months go by without seeing him. And, we're cracking jokes like, oh, maybe the tunnel people finally got him, right? Until one day, I'm woken up out of my sleep by the blaring sound of paramedic trucks, which were surrounding his building, right? You might remember this if you were living around there at the time, yellow taped off detectives. And I'm just standing there thinking, God, man, I hope Timmy's all right? And as I try to take a closer look, a forensic analyst kind of approaches me and he says, you live around here? I say to him like, yeah, I'm right next door. Look, what's going on? And he just kind of takes a second and goes, buddy, we found the skeletal remains of a man in the basement. Any locals that you noticed haven't been around recently? And I'm just in a total state of shock, right? As I just kind of stare back at him and say, my God, Timmy. And he just says back to me, Timmy who? I say, look, his name was Timmy Eisenberg. And before I can even continue, the expression on the guy's face shifts and he goes, the crazy son of a bitch who was at the station every other day last year talking about tunnel people? And at that moment, me and this detective just kind of look at each other, right? Like we're both just kind of thinking the same thing. And I just say to him, officer, what if he wasn't crazy? As he just lifts up his radio to call the team and says, clear all units out of the basement. Call the demolition team in immediately. And he just says to me, let's go see for ourselves. Look, we spent the next 6 hours demolishing the walls and floors of the basement. And buddy, what we'd found was just gut-wrenching. The floor caved into what was just an incredibly massive pocket in the ground, okay? All of these makeshift tunnels just carved out of the dirt, right? Place was riddled with remnants of trash, rotten food, these makeshift sleeping quarters. But these tunnel people, right, were nowhere to be seen. The weeks that followed uncovered just how massive this underground network was. Right, hundreds of access points that bridged into different buildings, subway stations. Realizing that this place was just far too vast to shut down, the entire thing was basically covered up, and it's just dealt with on a case-by-case basis to this day.